The following cuts are the most familiar ones found in the kitchen. The basic long rectangular cuts are pont neuf, usually applied to potatoes, bâtonnet, julienne, and fine julienne. Dice cuts are cubes of various sizes: large dice, medium dice, small dice, and brunoise. These cuts have more distinctive shapes: rondelles, rounds, lozenge, diamond, paysanne, fermière in French, chiffonade, tournée, and oblique or roll cut. Two techniques, fluting and fanning, use an ordinary paring knife to produce complicated-looking cuts. Because of their layered structure, some vegetables, such as onions, leeks, and scallions, require slightly different cutting techniques. They too can be sliced, diced, minced, and chopped. Be sure to look for consistency in all your cuts. Check your measurements as you learn these cuts. Remember, the measurements are only a guideline. Consistency and size is what's important. Uneven cuts like these will give an impression of carelessness. Once you begin cutting a certain size, stick with it. Remember, consistency and size will also ensure even cooking times. To start, be sure your knives are sharp and your work area is organized. Always work with only the freshest produce that should be thoroughly cleaned. Before cutting them into shapes, you will need to peel many of the vegetables you will work with. A swivel-bladed peeler is common to use on thin-skinned vegetables. A paring knife can also remove thinner skins, while a chef's knife may be needed for thicker skins such as rutabagas. Just be sure you peel your vegetables completely. To work with round vegetables safely, square off the bottoms first so they won't roll around. To make the bâtonnet, trim the vegetables so that the sides are straight. This will make it easier to produce even cuts. To show each cut in detail, we're performing them slowly and precisely. In a production kitchen setting, they would be done much faster. Slice the vegetable lengthwise, making parallel cuts 1/4 of an inch in width. Be consistent. Let your guiding hand and the knife work together. Then take the slices and make another series of 1/4 inch cuts. Take your time to position the knife first, then make your cut. You can also stack the slices to make these parallel cuts. Square off any rounded edges if necessary, then finish the bâtonnet to its standard length of about 2.5 inches. The julienne cut is similar, but is half the width of the bâtonnet. Here we're using a turnip. First, square off the vegetable. From this block, cut slices that are 1/8 of an inch thick. Make sure your cuts are parallel. You will need to be more precise with your knife and guiding hand to create these thinner slices. Carefully make parallel cuts the same width to create julienne strips. These average about 2 inches in length. Yellow squash can easily be julienne. Take the 1/8 inch slices from the sides only to avoid the seeds in the center. Again, with the slices in a manageable stack, cut the 1/8 by 1/8 strips. The most detailed cut is the fine julienne, requiring slices only 1/16 of an inch thick. Remember to position your blade with the guiding hand, then make your cut. Steady hands and pacing will produce a beautiful cut. Julienne strips are a perfect garnish, or try a fried julienne of carrot nest over a sautéed salmon entree. Diced cuts are cubes that have the same dimension on all sides. Some diced cuts are produced by making additional cuts into your pont neuf, bâtonnet, or julienne cuts. Again, consistency is crucial to achieving a good cubed shape. The large dice is a 3/4 inch cube. To start from the beginning, this rutabaga is trimmed to create flat sides. Root vegetables, particularly large ones like rutabagas and turnips, are easier to cut when they're at room temperature rather than cold. Parallel cuts are made lengthwise to create 3/4 inch slices. Another series of 3/4 inch cuts are made which create the pont neuf cut. Gather up the long pieces so that the ends line up, and then cut into 3/4 inch cubes. Medium diced cubes measure 1/3 of an inch and are produced exactly the same way. Cut slices, then strips, then cut the cubes all the same 1/3 of an inch measurement. Since we've already cooked these beets and their juices stain easily, working with gloves is advised. You can also rub the cutting surface with a little vegetable oil before cutting to reduce the amount of staining. To make the small dice, take the bâtonnet strips and cut off 1/4 of an inch to produce cubes. You'll often find this small dice cut in soups and stews. The smallest dice cut is called brunoise. Carefully cut your julienne strips into this ornate 1/8 inch dice. The guiding hand ensures consistency in both size and shape. The brunoise cut is often seen served in a clear consommé. The following cuts are known for their distinctive shapes. The paysanne or country-style cut is one such example. Instead of a dice cut, make thin crosswise cuts, creating small flat squares. Cut your vegetable as you would a bâtonnet, but use a 1/2 inch measurement. Line up the ends and cut 1/8 inch slices. This is the lozenge or diamond cut. Thinly slice the vegetable. If necessary, trim the slices into consistent width strips. Make the diagonal cut and continue cutting parallel to the first cut. The result is a decorative diamond shape. A simple cut using cylindrical vegetables, such as a carrot or zucchini, is called the rondelle or round. The peeled vegetable may be either cut perpendicular or at an angle. Remember, let your guiding hand dictate the thickness of the cuts. Again, this pace is to show the details. A proper kitchen pace is much faster. The oblique or roll cut is commonly used with long cylindrical vegetables such as parsnips or carrots. It can be done in two slightly different ways. Place your peeled vegetable on the cutting surface and make a diagonal cut. With the knife at the same angle, roll the vegetable 180 degrees and slice through on the same diagonal. In the second version, turn the vegetable only 90 degrees to achieve a slightly different result. In either case, the pieces will have two angled cuts and should be of similar size. Turning vegetables, tourner in French, requires a series of cuts that simultaneously trim and shape the vegetable. The shape is similar to a barrel or football. Peel the product and cut it into manageable size pieces. Large, round, or oval vegetables such as rutabagas or potatoes should be divided to form pieces slightly larger than 2 inches. Hold the 2-inch piece between your thumb and index finger. Draw the blade towards the thumb, trimming more from the ends than from the middle. Turn the vegetable and continue trimming until the barrel-like shape emerges. The surfaces should be even and smooth. Classically, the tourneed vegetable has 7 sides. This cut requires practice to achieve clean, symmetrical products. The chiffonade cut creates a finely shredded product from leafy vegetables like Boston lettuce or herbs such as basil. Core and cut in half the leafy vegetable. Gather the leaves or roll them and make fine parallel cuts until the item is fully shredded. This is most often used as a garnish. Decorative cuts can enhance any presentation. 2 techniques, fluting and fanning, use an ordinary paring knife to produce complicated-looking cuts. Fluting is customarily used with mushrooms and can take some practice to master. Hold the mushroom with thumb and forefinger of the guiding hand. Place the blade of a paring knife at an angle against the center of the mushroom cap. Rotate downward to the edge of the cap, cutting a shallow groove. At the same time the knife is cutting, the guiding hand is turning the mushroom in the opposite direction. Continue around the entire mushroom. Fanning is a simple cut that produces complicated-looking garnishes. Leave the stem end intact, then make a series of parallel cuts through the item. Then gently fan the ends outward. Here, gloves can help maintain good sanitation standards. Fruits and vegetables of all kinds can be fanned to make beautiful displays. Some vegetables, due to their shape and structure, don't lend themselves easily to the basic cuts we've discussed. Onions, leeks, and garlic are all very different and require specific handling. Onions are the most indispensable ingredient in the kitchen. There are 4 common ways to process an onion: parallel slice, perpendicular slice, dice, and rings. Cut them as close as possible to the time you need them, since they smell and taste old fairly quickly. In all cases, start by peeling the onion using a paring knife. Cut the end and peel back the skin using your thumb against the blade. Trim off any brown spots. You may also need to remove a thin, slippery membrane. When slicing, cut the onion in half from end to end, following the grain. Remove the hard root end and lay the onion flat side down. For parallel slices, hold the onion along the side and let your guiding hand direct the knife. Continue until you've completed the lengthwise cuts. Perpendicular cuts are achieved in the same manner, except that you cut from end to end. Cutting across the grain will produce slices of different sizes. Diced onions are used in many different dishes. First, cut an onion in half lengthwise, but this time leave the root end intact. Make a series of evenly spaced parallel cuts with the tip of the knife. At this point, some chefs choose to make 2 or 3 horizontal cuts without cutting all the way through. Finally, make crosswise cuts the same thickness as the first parallel cuts, working up towards the uncut root end. The closer the cuts, the finer the dice. To cut onion rings, start with a whole peeled onion. Secure it firmly with your guiding hand, trim the end, and then cut 1/3 to 1/2 inch slices. Separate the rings before battering or breading. Shallots are similar to onions in their layered structure and are usually minced. Following the same procedure for diced onion, make fine parallel cuts with the tip of a paring knife. Leave the root end intact. Complete the mince by cutting the shallot crosswise. This careful cutting method will minimize the loss of juices. Chopped garlic is a standard in today's kitchen. First, break the bulb and separate the cloves. Flatten the cloves between the heel of your knife and the work surface. Peel off the skin and remove any brown spots. Coarse chop the garlic and work up to a fine chop, rocking the knife back and forth. Prepare only what you need to maintain freshness. Garlic can also be mashed. Peel the clove as before and crush it with the heel of the chef's knife. Lightly chop the clove and sprinkle with some salt. Again, with the heel of the knife, begin to mash the clove. The salt is used as an abrasive and also helps to extract the juices. Leeks require that you trim off the top dark section of the leaves and just above the root ends. To julienne the leek, cut several leaves into 2-inch sections and layer them. Using your guiding hand, cut thin 1/8 inch strips. These are perfect for garnishes or soups. To dice leeks, first layer some leaves and cut 1/2 inch strips. Then make crosswise cuts the same width apart. Scallions have a similar appearance to leeks, but are smaller and more tender. Remove the root ends, the dark green tops, and peel away older leaves. A common way to cut scallions is with a diagonal or bias cut. This exposes a greater surface area and can help shorten the cooking time. Chives are first washed, then sliced into 1/8 inch pieces. They are sliced, not chopped, because chives are so easily bruised.